Today we are unlocking some of the secret skills that you need to make it on Broadway. And in this video, I'm going to share with you 3 of the most important skills that I have ever learned about how to build and keep a career on Broadway. Because contrary to popular belief, it's not just about singing, dancing, and acting. What? Crazy, I know. But there's a whole other side of Broadway that you need to master if you want to stand out and stay in the game. These are the skills that got me everything from my first Broadway show over 15 years ago to the one I'm currently doing, which is Disney's Aladdin on Broadway, where I play Kasim. This is literally my dressing room, and I have a show coming up. So let's just jump into skill number 1. Build mental toughness. It's often said that if you get into show business, you are going to hear no way more than you're going to hear yes, and that is absolutely the truth. Because whether it's a bad audition or it's something that you go in for that you're just not right for, inevitably you're gonna hear no. Side note, at thebroadwaystudio.com we teach our students specific ways that they can hear no way less. Just saying, food for thought. And honestly, y'all, dealing with all the no's can be really hard. So one of the most underrated yet absolutely important must-have skills that you need to have and keep a career on Broadway is building mental toughness. Because look, we're all gonna have bad auditions, and sometimes you're gonna have a great audition and you're still not gonna get it. How'd that audition go? Great. Did you get it? Nope. So, how do we start building mental toughness right now, today? Well, first things first, we have to define it so that we know that we're all talking about the same thing. So, by definition, mental toughness is the ability to perform well under pressure and to keep moving forward in the face of adversity. We're gonna break that down into 2 parts. The first part, the ability to perform well under pressure. To do that, we have to accept that, contrary to what we're told on social media, we are, in fact, not perfect. Hold on, stay with me. Yes, as human beings, we are all worthy naturally of love and empathy, but being on Broadway requires skills, and skills require work. So in doing the work, we build the skills to achieve the goals that we want. And no matter what anybody tells you, there are no shortcuts. You got to do the work. So we have a saying at the Broadway Studio, and it is something that if you have been in one of our master classes in the last 10 years, you have definitely heard. We don't do it till we get it right. We do it till we can't get it wrong. That is the goal that we strive for. And guys, that doesn't mean that there's no room for artistry. It means that if you don't know the steps yet, there's no reason for you to add style. If you don't know the lyrics to the song, you can't tell the story the way that it was intended. So we put in the work to develop our technique, and then your artistic freedom, it's in that technique. We relieve as much of the pressure as possible by putting in the work before we get into the room. And then we're truly free to play. Now, for the second part, how do we keep moving forward in the face of adversity? To illustrate this point, here's my worst audition story ever. So I'm just like everybody else, and I have also had some really tough, terrible auditions in my career. And one in particular was for Crybaby on Broadway when I was like 21 years old. It was a new show that Rob Ashford had choreographed, and I really wanted to be in it. It was like for replacements in it, and I'd seen it on Broadway, and ooh, buddy, did I want to do it. It was just so cool. So about a week before the audition, I had been visiting home in Georgia, and I had gotten into a bad car accident. I actually had to have surgery, and I had some stitches in my head. Here I am at this audition that I really want, a week after having stitches put into my head, and I totally shouldn't have been there. But I really, really wanted to be in a Rob Ashford show. And there was this step in the choreo, so you had to like roll back up on your head and your neck and shoulders, and then your feet were up in the air. And I knew it was a bad idea, but I went on and did it anyway, and as soon as I went back, I went up on my neck and head, and I was trying to keep my head off the ground, but it hit the ground, and I heard a and as I rolled back off the ground, I looked at the ground, and there was just a little bit of blood. And I put my hand on the back of my head, I pulled it forward. Yep, there's blood on it, because I'd popped a stitch. Oh no. And I had to go up to the casting team and let them know what happened. And that means that they had to pause the audition, clean up the floor, and then I had to leave. And it was super embarrassing, like real bad. And that's definitely my worst audition ever. But a few years later, I was asked to come in for How to Succeed on Broadway, also choreographed by Rob Ashford. I did the audition, I left the audition, and within 20 minutes, I got a call saying that I had just booked my second Broadway show. Moral of the story here, don't give up just because of a bad audition. Keep moving forward in the face of adversity. Because between that terrible audition for Crybaby and me getting cast in How to Succeed, I played Al in the first national tour of A Chorus Line. I played Diesel in West Side Story on Broadway. And on top of all that, I'm at the love of my life. If I had let that audition get into my head, I wouldn't have got my first Broadway show, or my second Broadway show, or my wife. Boom. There's this awesomely simple quote from the actor Chris Pratt: keep pushing. It'll break before you do. And I agree. So keep pushing and you will build mental toughness. And the more mental toughness you build, the more you'll keep pushing. It's kind of an awesome cycle. And eventually, if you push hard enough, you'll get your big break. It's cheesy, I know, but it's true. All right, that's enough of that. Get out of here with all those emotions. Moving on to skill number 2, adaptability. Be adaptable. Y'all, no lie, adaptability is key in this industry because Broadway is just incredibly and entirely unpredictable. Like, remember when 2020 happened and literally everyone was out of the job? Like, literally everyone. Super unpredictable. And even if we leave like world upending pandemics aside, it's still a crazy business. Like, you never know what's gonna happen, and you kind of have to be ready for anybody, like any new casting teams, any new creative teams, whole new casts, because every show and every rehearsal process and every backstage experience is gonna be different. Like, if you're in a new show, you're gonna have to deal with choreography changes every day, even once you're open or in previews, possibly new scenes, new songs, like during previews. And even if you're in a well-established, long-running show like this, some days you're gonna come in and half the cast is gonna be out. And you're gonna have mid-show swing-ons, and you're gonna have people who have only done the role once. And there's a million other things that happen backstage that keep Broadway running every night. So sometimes you're just gonna have to learn to roll with the punches. That's like really important. You being able to stay flexible and learn quickly and adapt to different creative teams and different casts and just unexpected situations is vital. My advice, stay open to change and learn how to pivot when new challenges come up. Because more often than not, it's the people who can be adaptable that end up succeeding on Broadway. Like, literally, my Broadway debut was about as adaptable as I've ever been in my life. So I made my Broadway debut in the 2008 revival of West Side Story at the Palace Theater. When I joined the show, I was a standby for Diesel, Action, and Riff. And if you don't know what standbys are, I'm gonna make a video about that soon. That'll be up here if it's already made, and if not, coming soon. So what it generally means though is that I didn't do the show every night unless one of those actors that played those roles was out. So I learned all my standby roles in about a month. And then I didn't go on for a while, like multiple weeks, maybe another month. Finally, I come in one day and I'm walking up to the call board and somebody grabs me and hugs me and they're like, "Oh my God, I'm so excited for you. You're gonna make your Broadway debut tonight." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, who's out?" And they were like, "Sam." And I was like, "But Sam plays 4-H." And they were like, "Yeah." And I was like, "But I don't cover 4-H." And right about that time, our resident choreographer comes peeling around the corner. She's like, "Cole, go get dressed. You're on for 4-H. Again, I don't cover 4-H. And she said, and I quote, "Don't worry, it's just like the other guys. And he doesn't have any lines, so it's just dance. I'll teach you as you go." Yep, I'll teach you as you go. So I had a choice. I could say no and I could just leave this huge mess for everybody else to deal with, or I could see it as an opportunity to adapt to wild circumstances and also have an awesome story that future me, which is now present me, would be able to tell in the future, which is now me telling you. Totally worked. I was right. So I adapted to the situation and I went and got dressed and I met her on stage at half hour, where she proceeded to teach me the first number of the show. Prologue from West Side Story, a 7-minute dance number. Then I came off stage from that and she taught me the second number, which was Dance at the Gym. And then I came off from that, she taught me the third number, which was Cool from West Side Story. And just saying it out loud is so wild. And so on and so forth all the way through the show. And yes, if you know West Side Story, he was in the Dream Ballet in Paradiso and Scherzo. And I learned that one at intermission. So, whoo, buddy. Like, what? And y'all, I don't say any of this to like pat myself on the back. I say it because, look, sometimes you're gonna have to adapt to crazy situations. For those of you out there in internet land who are like, "But you didn't have to do that. You should have said no. You could have just said no. You could have said no. You could have said." I guess I could have said no, and it would have been within my rights as a performer or my contract or whatever, but who cares? Like, that's not what I'm here for. The truth is, I'm a professional storyteller. That was my goal, and that's what I wanted to do. And that night, I had the opportunity to be a part of telling one of the greatest love stories ever told. I had the chance to be in service to an audience who had spent their hard-earned money to come in that night and escape themselves and just be enveloped in a world that's all about love. Now, was it the way that I thought it would happen? Nope. But I didn't and don't care how it happened. I cared that it happened. Yes, in certain situations, you are going to need to protect yourself in this business just like any other, just like in life. But sometimes you get the opportunity to think bigger than just yourself in that moment and your feelings. To illustrate this, I love this quote from one of my favorite authors, Seth Godin. So I'm going to share most of it here and now with you. We'll put the full quote down in the description below, but it's fairly lengthy. If you need to be authentic to do your best work, you're not a professional, you're a fortunate amateur. Fortunate because you have a gig where being who you feel like being in the moment actually helps you move forward. For the rest of us, there's the opportunity to be a professional. We don't do this work because we feel like it in the moment. We do this work, this draining emotional labor, because we're professionals, because we want to make change happen. Emotional labor is the work we do to provide service. I was honored to be in service to that audience that night. I am honored to be in service to an audience every night that I get to perform. Sometimes you won't feel like it, but you'll figure out a way to do it anyway because you're adaptable. So before we move on to skill number 3, I actually have a favor to ask y'all, and it's not the usual like, subscribe, comment, all those things. Do those if you want, but this favor actually isn't for me. This one's for someone you know. If you found this content useful so far and there's somebody that you know that you think can benefit from hearing this stuff, go down below, click on that share, and share it with as many of those people as possible. Because our goal at thebroadwaystudio.com is to make professional Broadway and musical theater education accessible to everyone. And to do that, I need your help. So I am thanking you in advance for sharing this with someone and helping them get closer to achieving their dreams, which actually dovetails into today's last skill very nicely. Well done, team. Guys, it's just me. Skill number 3, networking, or as I like to call it, building community. So here is an awesome story about building community that literally just happened to me as I was writing this section of the episode. I got a call the other day, totally out of the blue, from a friend of mine who was the executive producer and showrunner on a show that I did called This Close on the Sundance Channel a few years back. And she calls me and she says, hey, I'm executive producing this movie with this star and that star, and we're doing a reading in New York, and I would love for you to play this role. Would you be down? Obviously, yes. And also, I didn't do anything today that would earn me an offer to do a reading and potentially a feature film with a whole bunch of celebrities. But all the work that made it possible for that to happen today happened 5 or 6 years ago when I met this awesome person and asked her if I could shadow her on set on the days that I wasn't called, and even when I was called, just because I wanted to know more about how the TV and film industry worked and what happened behind the camera. And then we hit it off and we became super close friends, and she's absolutely awesome and a huge friend of our family. Then totally out of the blue this morning, this opportunity comes up. Now that is what building community is. One of the things that you are probably going to hear in this business is sometimes it's not just what you know, it's who you know. And like it or love it, like it is 100% true. But I'm also not gonna lie, like I just get the heebie-jeebies about the word networking. Like I just don't love it. And if it's your bag, then do it to it. And honestly, I may change my mind in the future. I understand the concept of it, but because of the business that we're in and how close-knit this community ends up being, I just don't like networking. It feels gross. But the truth is that whatever you call it, networking or building community, it's all variations on a theme. It's all about building relationships. Here's the key though, for me, you have to focus on building genuine relationships with people. Let's just talk about Broadway. Support your friends. Support your friends by going to their shows and their cabarets. I get it, sometimes it's expensive, but there's TKTS, there's Rush tickets, there's Today Tix, there's all sorts of things that really, really help. And it's gonna be extra work, but you know, love is action over time. So even if you can't see every show, at least make every effort you can to support them however you can and to build your community and raise up the people that you love. Now, your next logical question might be, well, Colt, what's the best way to build my community? Great question. You could take a step back. It's one thing and it's simple and straightforward. Show up. Show up for your community. If someone has a cabaret or a one-person show, or they're just playing guitar down at the National, like if you can make it, go. If your friend has an idea for a project, see if there's a way that you can help them bring their dream into reality. And once you're on Broadway or touring and Broadway Cares season comes around, if there's something that needs to be done, just do it. If you can volunteer your time and go collect, or if you can fold aprons, or if you can sign posters, or if you can put those posters into bags, or whatever needs doing, it means a lot more to people when you show up for them than you think it does. And I'll be totally honest, I have not always been great at this one because I never wanted to network because it just made me feel disingenuous. But over time, I realized that I was making that an excuse not to ever go to anything. And now I have found another way to build my community that works really well for me. And more than that, it has made it way stronger. So I have this to-do list on my phone, and some of the things, you know, at the top of the to-do list are just for today. Like I need to do this today. I need to go to the gym. I need to get eggs. I need to have this session with this client and this session with this client. But some of the things are constant. And one of the things that is constant that I absolutely hated at first, and I had to force myself to do it, it's just this one little thing that says reach out. All I have to do every day is make sure that I reach out to someone that I love and check in on them, whether it's a text or a phone call or an email. But I can't do it if I know that they're busy. I can't do it to just be like, oh, well, I did it. Like I have to make a concerted effort to reach out and express that love and just let them know. Like it doesn't have to be some big crazy thing where I'm like, hey, how's your life? What's going on? Is everything good? Tell me everything that's been happening in your life. It's not that. It's just checking in and letting them know, hey, you're on my mind, thinking about you. Hope everything's good. And what that does is it reminds me, oh, they have this going on. Maybe I can help them in some way. Maybe they just need to talk about it. Maybe it's stressful. Maybe just to know that I checked in was enough. So if that's something that vibes with you, or even if it doesn't, it didn't vibe with me when I started, but highly recommend 10 out of 10. Because I keep finding that that tiny little bit of energy that I give out, it makes a huge difference to those people in my life. Honestly, that is what matters most to me. And I'm not saying that you have to do that. You will find your own way to build your own community. And y'all, I have seen this happen time and time again. If you focus on building your community, you're gonna get random calls out of the blue that could lead you to awesome work. But even if not, like, this is a hard business and there's just no reason to do it alone. Trust me, after 20 years in this business, 15 years on Broadway, like, you will need that community one day, and you will be beyond grateful when they show up for you in ways that you never saw coming. So those were the top 3 things on a very long list of secret skills that I want to share with y'all. So if you dig the list and you like the video, let us know down in the comments below with all that other stuff. Like, subscribe, and let us know what you want to see on the channel in the future, because this channel is for you, so I want to make stuff that you want to see. But I don't know what you want to see, so you got to let me know. I got to go get ready, but thank you so much. Hope you all have a beautiful day. Mwah. Don't forget to share with your friends. Super appreciate it. Have a good one.